And I have been a horse seller.
I saw. I've been following you on Facebook. You're rocking them out.
That's not mine.
Oh my god. Oh my goodness.
That's the unfortunate thing. It's just wiped you out like that, because that's not like you. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right after you leave.
When you came in, you sat down, and you were just like, that's why I started wrong. I mean, I could tell. Usually
you left, and they didn't
cheery, happy, and you were just like,
You're smiling and you're all like,
yeah, and you were just like, I was like, ooh, kidding her.
He's
because I was looking up the
selling all of
candidates
his
for the school
black
board.
Ford.
And I think it was, you had a picture with?
Whatever he's driving
Last
around.
name sounds
He's
that,
selling
yeah, I couldn't remember the full name, but I looked at it and I was like,
Wyoming.
yeah. I mean, I
Back at 10.
No. Oh, it's 63%.
65.
65 now? Right in here is where we're just find a
Still won't. I don't think they'll still close out that 10 points.
You ready over there?
You guys ready?
yes.
Welcome everyone to the City of Evans City Council meeting for November 2nd, 2021. I'm Brian Reedy, the mayor. I'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Rudy?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Clark?
Here.
Councilmember Spear?
Here.
Councilmember Johnson?
Present.
Councilmember Neal? Councilmember Neal?
Present.
Councilmember Castle?
Here.
Councilmember Mortensen?
Here.
Next item on the agenda is audience participation. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address City Council on any item not on the agenda this evening? Are there any changes to the agenda, anyone?
I move to approve the agenda.
I second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item, consent agenda. Item 1, approval of the October 19th, 2021 City Council meeting minutes. Item 2, consideration of ordinance number 751-21, 2022 operating and capital budget appropriations, second reading.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item, new business. Consideration of Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals alternate member appointments. Hear from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. The alternate position on the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals is currently vacant. The city posted a vacancy announcement for the position, which ran through October 22nd. 2 residents submitted applications, and the City Council held interviews this evening. And with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor to lead the consideration of an appointment.
So, yep, we did hold some interviews, and we found an outstanding applicant named Sheila Ann Farley. I do not see her right now, but that's okay. She was great. She's really looking forward to this. We let her know what's all going into it and that we are growing pretty rapidly here in the city of Evans and Weld County in general, and she was looking forward to that. So he was selected by the city council. Mayor Pro Tem Mark.
Mr. Mayor, I move to appoint Sheila Ann Farley as the alternate member of the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to appoint Sheila Ann Farley as the alternate to the Board of Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals as an alternate. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I will have to abstain, Mr. Mayor, since I was not a party to the two applicants.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Neal. Opposed, nay. That is 6-0 in favor of with 1 abstention. Next item on the agenda, consideration of the second amendment to the Intergovernmental Agreement for the transfer of services between the City of Evans and the Evans Fire Protection District, specifically pertaining to the process for terminating the city's annual fiscal contribution to the district, and we'll hear from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Since the district's inception in 2011, part of the IGA that created that district the agreement with the city also carries a financial contribution requirement from the city to the district. And that same IGA also included provisions for a time in the future when there might be some reconsideration of the city's contribution based on the financial sustainability and health of the district. So earlier this spring, the city initiated some discussions with the district about their financial health and whether and when it might be time for the city's contribution to reduce or be terminated. And those conversations resulted in an agreement for continued contribution at approximately the same level through 2022, and then a significantly reduced level of contribution of $200,000 per year through 2026. So tonight, Council, we have that before you. I know our city attorney, Scott Krob, worked through the details of the agreement with the district, and I'd ask him if he has anything to add regarding the actual agreement.
Itself, it's already been reviewed by the fire district and signed by the fire district, so it only remains for your approval and your signature. It was an agreement that was negotiated in large part between the mayor and the chair of the fire district, Ms. Oxiger, as well as between the city manager and the fire chief, as you already know. But in general, anytime you can reach a mutually acceptable resolution of a matter, that's the preferable outcome. So I think it's ready for the board or the council's consideration.
Scott, comments or questions of the council?
I just want to say that I'm very glad to be still partnering with the fire district. I think this is a great resolution for both parties involved and continue our relationship with them. And I want to thank all parties involved for coming to the table and negotiating this agreement, and I look forward to continue our partnership with them.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
10 years ago, the fire district was proposed and presented to the voters, and it included an intergovernmental agreement. The city agreed to an annual contribution to financially help the fire district get on its feet, and it was projected that when the district's revenues were sufficient to support and sustain the district, that this would cease. Given the district's audited financial statements, I believe this level of sufficiency was reached several years ago, which opposes the district view. However, our founding fathers taught us to listen to all viewpoints and then reach a compromise. This is kind of contrary to the career politicians in Washington, but I believe we've reached an effective compromise, and I am in support of this amendment.
Thank you, Councilmember Neal. Councilwoman Castle, anything to add?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to say that, we recognized per review of the financial statements for both the fire district and the city, we recognize an ability to really ensure that both parties were in a sound financial position while working to better also utilize funds of the residents to ensure that they had the best fire service, police protection, really everything across the board. And I think we were able to do it in such a manner that we should all be very proud of. I appreciate so much the leadership of the fire district in helping to reach compromise, in collaborating and working with the city, and really understanding all facets of the decision making and all parts that were put into that. So major kudos to all players involved. I think this is really in the best interest of our residents, and really shows the hard work of the fire district to become financially solvent, and the awareness of this city to help recognize that and ensure the funds of our residents were utilized in the best manner possible.
Thank you, Councilwoman Castle. Anyone else? I'd just like to take a moment and first off, thank the fire district, thank the board, especially President Otzinger and the fire chief. Myself and City Manager Becklenberg worked closely with them to get where we are today. That fire district is safe and sound in their hands. They do a great, great job at what they do. They're phenomenal at it, and that is why we did feel they were in such a good place, because of such the good work they've done in the past to get themselves there. Some of those negotiations were tough, sometimes not so fun, but I think we did get to a place where we needed to be, because we need to have a great relationship with that fire district, and I think we do, and we need to continue that. They're a very important part to our city. They're well run, and they will be in the future. So I'm glad we are where we are. I appreciate their side, and I appreciate getting here now. So I am in favor of this. Anyone else? Then I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the second amendment to the IGA for the transfer of emergency services between the City of Evans and the Evans Fire Protection District.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the second amendment to the IGA for the transfer of emergency services between the City of Evans and the Evans Fire Protection District. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Councilwoman Castle?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Motion passes. Next item, consideration of ordinance number 752-21, prohibited residency of sex offenders, and we'll hear from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. The ordinance before you tonight should look familiar, and it should look like the results of your council work sessions that you've had. You've had a couple on this topic. This issue was brought to the council by a concerned resident, and the city council very quickly directed staff to bring forward information on our approach to how we manage the issues associated with sexual offenders, sex offenders in Evans. I would like to just ask our police chief, Rick Brandt, to just briefly recap the key provisions of the ordinance, and then we'll be seeking your consideration of the ordinance on first reading tonight.
Thank you, Jim. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, recent City Council meeting, Council revisited a ordinance that was passed in 2009, where there was a 750-foot restriction for loitering for registered sex offenders. And after some discussion with some of our citizens, Council determined, and rightfully so, that specified sex offenders, especially sexually violent predators and those that have committed multiple offenses, do present a high risk in our community, especially to our most vulnerable population, our children. And at Council's direction, I reviewed a number of residency restrictions across the state, the cities that implemented, and presented those to Council at a recent work session. And before you tonight is the final product of that, where Council has directed staff to put together a 300-foot residency restriction on specified sex offenders and sexually violent predators. So this, every city does something just a little bit different in terms of what is restricted space and what isn't. Specifically for the City of Evans, these individuals are restricted from being 300 feet from licensed daycare, child care centers, schools, parks, rec centers, school bus stops, and public swimming pools. And as you are aware, this ordinance is not retroactive. It's going to apply to all new registrants that are coming into the city, or in the event that a lease is expired, and we'll be having discussions with the landlord in terms of what the new conditions are. The one issue that I think Council took very seriously and considered as part of this decision making was, although we do have a duty to protect our most vulnerable citizens, we also understand that in order for sex offenders to have a chance of not reoffending, they have to have some kind of stable housing and an ability to earn a livelihood. So I think that was one of the considerations that council took very seriously as a part of this discussion. And we presented the aforementioned ordinance to you this evening. I think with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief Grant. Questions of Chief Grant or comments? Fred, got anything?
No, I don't.
Amanda?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Personally glad this did get brought to our attention. This is how local government, city government, and all government should work. You have a citizen that comes in, says something, the council or whatever governing body from where they sit should hear that out and then have a discussion about it, and then you come to a conclusion, and this is where we came. So I do want to thank you for bringing this to our attention today. You are welcome. This is not a public hearing, but I would give you a minute or two to talk. If you'd like to say anything, you are under no obligation to, but you're welcome to if you have anything to add.
I mentioned this last time that I was here, but I really do appreciate all the work that you've done, especially you, Officer Brandt. I know that it's a lot of extra work, but I feel like it's important work, and I appreciate that you guys took this seriously and got started on it right away, and here we are, and hopefully you'll pass it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 752-21 as proposed on first reading.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 752-21 as proposed on first reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Thank you so much. Next item on the agenda, consideration of resolution number 28-2021. Thank you, Chief Grant. 28-2021, request for the city asset disposal of recreation van. We'll hear from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. The City Council maintains a policy for disposing of surplus or abandoned property from city departments that are damaged or outmoded or really just no longer useful to the city, and those items can then be declared surplus property according to the policy. And that your packets. I will cut to the chase and ask Randy to just give an overview of this asset that we are requesting council's approval to dispose of, and then we will seek your permission to proceed. Randy?
Thank you, Jim. Yes, Mayor and council members, we did discuss this pending request during your budget item reviews. There is a budget item that you've approved in the 2022 budget for a lease of a vehicle to be used during the summer day camp program. It's a vehicle to be used for about those 90 days of camp and then returned to the company from which we got it. We're also looking into, and thank you for the idea, Councilmember Spear, working with the school district. They're still not offering that program of leasing their vehicles and drivers yet, but that may change at some point before we get into the new year. So we'll continue to follow up with them and pursue all options for our summer day camp. But in the meantime, we've got a piece of equipment that really is considered surplus, is considered unsafe. It's a 2006 Ford E450 van that has been in the fleet for some time. However, it's only been used sporadically, mainly for summer day camp and occasional senior trips. The vehicle is worth approximately $7,000 now. Unfortunately, it will take about $17,000 or more to repair it and bring it up to a safe condition. It does have some serious safety issues, including some exhaust leaks that come into the passenger compartment, problems with the brakes, all bad tires, faulty bearings on the drive shaft, and multiple fluid leaks and oil leaks throughout the engine. The repairs for all those safety issues alone are about $10,000, and then plus there's another $7,000 in additional repairs to get the air conditioning system working again, rotting away, doors and windows, etc. So we are asking your approval of Resolution 2821, which would let us take this vehicle to auction. to get the highest bid for it, and then replace it with a leased vehicle, leased during the summers going forward.
Questions of staff? Comment?
I just have one comment. Can we make sure we put a really strong disclaimer on the sale of that vehicle?
Yes. Very strong.
Yeah.
I have a question. I mean, how do we let a vehicle get into this condition and keep it for so long? It just seems to me that if it has all of these issues, then they either should have been repaired along the line, or we should have gotten rid of this vehicle a long time ago. So I guess I question what our maintenance procedures are once.
Yeah, I understand, and I have not been here obviously through the entire life of this vehicle, but these have been gradually accumulating problems. But the past year, for instance, didn't use this vehicle this past summer before, of course, day camp was canceled. So we're going back now to 2019. The last it was used sparingly, and these problems over the last 2 years have exacerbated. So it's basically been sitting since the summer of 2019. We've known this is coming, known that we either needed to get a new vehicle, which we believe, and I think you concurred by your agreement with the budget request, not to actually purchase a vehicle and see the same thing happen to it. 3 or 4 months worth of use followed by 8 months of sitting around. So a leased vehicle will serve this purpose much better, provide the service when we need it, and give the vehicle back.
That answer your question?
Yeah, I have a 2006, and it's, anytime something goes wrong with it, I get it repaired, and it's running in just mint condition. I mean, I get asked all the time, when did I get a new vehicle? So I just hope that we, if we get a new vehicle, or if we have current fleet, that we take care of it a little bit better than it sounds like this has been neglected. So that's just my point.
Other comments or questions? And/or Fred, anything to add?
No, I think we're kind of said it all there for me already. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda, anything else?
Yeah, I guess to that point, I understand how municipalities and governments can get to this point because the cost of repairs and maintenance on the multitude of assets that we own can be difficult to manage. So I think sometimes you have to compare what your priorities are. So having said that, I think it would be advantageous to perhaps really build those into our capital management plan and try to come up with a streamlined plan as to how to manage those. But I do get it, particularly in the last 2 years where things have been a little bit crazy. I think to Councilwoman Spear's point, there are probably some things that we could be doing differently to help that. So I just think that we could consider internal fleet management and that sort of thing and how we do that, but knowing that can oftentimes be a juggle.
What else? I agree. I think you did bring up a very valid point. If you look, there's only 31,000 miles. So it seems the life out of it. So I would agree with you there. But we're to where we are, and we definitely need to get rid of this thing because it's, I don't know what you're going to get for it at an auction, but
Right.
a couple $100 maybe. I don't know. But, yep.
Options are strong right now.
Yeah. So I'm in favor of getting.
Yep.
If there are no other questions or comments, and entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 28-2021 to authorize the disposal of the 2006 recreation van.
I second.
Motion and a second to approve resolution number 28-2021. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item, consideration of resolution number 27-2021 to approve Colorado's opioid litigation memorandum of understanding and join the city of Evans into the settlement agreements. And we'll hear from staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Our legal counsel has been monitoring now for some time the ongoing litigation with between mostly states and the large pharmaceutical companies involved in the opioid pharmaceutical production. And there have recently been some large settlements with various states. And I know in Colorado, the Colorado Municipal League has been working alongside the participants in those suits to reach settlements that can create some equitable payout structure for cities and counties that are interested in participating. So with that, I will turn it over to our Assistant City Attorney, Drew Lyman, for a little more information, and you'll be seeking your direction, which way to go following that presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. As Jim Becklenberg mentioned, there have been settlements related to opioid litigation. The total settlement amount in the state of Colorado is $385 million. 20% of that will be allocated to local governments. CML has worked alongside the litigants to craft equitable settlement proceeds that go to local governments. Under the proposed settlement, Evans would expect to receive $135,000 over the next 18 years to be used for opioid abatement for the acquisition of, for example, Narcan, a medicine to counteract an opioid overdose, or possibly for mental health. Evans will also likely benefit from the approximately $2.9 million that will go to Weld County under the settlement proposals. In exchange for the payments, the city must waive any independent claims it could have against the pharmaceutical giants, but due to the impracticality of such litigation, staff recommends approval of the resolution and entry into the settlement agreements and authorizing the mayor to execute the documents on. That concludes my remarks, and I'm available for any questions.
Sure. Questions of staff or comments?
Okay.
Amanda or Fred, anything?
No, just having had recent surgery, I requested that I be given a weaker pain medication. And my only option they offered me was an oxycodone, which I haven't taken any of them. The actual pain from the surgery has been less than the side effects from having the surgery due to the placement of the oxygen tubes and stuff. But I am definitely in favor of this settlement agreement. Provides a little bit of funding for our Narcan program eventually in the future if we accept it and do get part of the settlement. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Fred. Anyone else? I am very much in favor of this as well. While I firmly believe that we have the best attorneys anywhere around, I do not know that we want to send them up against Big Pharma right now. So, let's take what we got. All right, if there are no other comments, I entertain a motion.
I move to approve resolution number 27-2021 as proposed to approve Colorado's opioid litigation memorandum of understanding.
Second.
Thanks, Fred.
And join the city of Evans into the settlement agreement.
Go for it now, Fred.
Okay. Second. I couldn't hear Oliver's what she was saying, so I thought she was finished.
All good.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 27-2021. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Report, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, by the way, Drew.
Thank you.
We're closing in on the completion of 47th Avenue, and we've heard confirmation today that our contractors are preparing for asphalt, for laying asphalt late this week, likely Friday into Saturday, with finishing Monday, Tuesday as they need to. So that's great news. They'll be finishing more sidewalk and medians and things like that, but we hope to be starting to open up that road soon. Second, want to let council know, in case you didn't hear in the news, that, pardon me? Quick Trip Corporation closed on its now property at the truck stop property on Highway 85. So that's consistent with the follow through that we're seeing in community development on their land use permits and their site plan. So that's good news that they continue to move forward. And then finally, as I've had meetings with council members over the last week or two, I've tried to kind of have an informal poll about this, but I want to let you know that after this week, we'll be taking the city manager update, the city manager's update report that is currently a weekly product from us, and be transitioning that to a bi-weekly product that will be placed with your packets. So that's something that we've noticed that key projects and activities, there isn't always a lot of change from week to week, and this will give staff a little more capacity and time to focus on other things, and then do a really good update for council on a bi-weekly basis. So we'll be making that change. That's all I have, Mayor. Thanks.
Jim, City Attorney.
So the only other thing besides the executive session is I did attend the CML Attorney Section Conference the week before last in Pueblo. And as usual, highly beneficial. There's an annual update on Colorado laws, both those enacted by the legislatures and those created by the courts, which is worth the price of admission by itself. There were also a couple of programs that we forwarded to city staff, one on modifications to Senate Bill 217 regarding police protection and liability, and then another on equal pay, equal work statute that we forwarded to the HR department, and also some stuff on forwarded to planning. And that's all I've got.
Next item on the agenda is audience participation. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address City Council on any item?
Yes.
You?
The chief.
Does that count? Yeah, you count.
It's not a part of the, so.
In the audience.
Yeah.
Gonna do a happy dance.
Yes, yes, yes.
So just early polling results, the ballot measure is up 64 to 36% no. So it's looking good so far.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
yep, I've already ordered the tractors.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Seeing no one else in the audience, I'm assuming no one online. All right, then I would entertain a motion to go into executive session.
I move to go into executive session to receive advice from the city attorney and to provide direction to negotiators in connection with the city's wastewater treatment plant pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, Section 4, subsection B and E.
Motion and a second to go into executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. No executive session.
Brad,